I broke it down to 5 things, and some of it might be repeat for you guys. Some of it might be something that you already do and you might not know it, and maybe that's how you're leveling up. But I also feel like there's a huge population that actually doesn't do this. These tips that I'm gonna give you are the same tips that I utilize myself to get better, and that's the reason why I don't stop playing. And that's also the reason why I don't really get salty, because there's always a lot of room to grow, especially in fighting games. It'll at least give you a little bit more direction on how to level up your playstyle and your skill level, but it all boils down to how you're gonna utilize it and what you do with these 5 tips. All right, so my very first tip, if you want to get better, being able to take your time in battle lounges versus players who are your skill level or just a little bit higher, where they're giving you a challenge, will help out a lot, because it gives you a lot of room to focus on the things that you want to focus on, try different approaches, and also apply different techniques that you want to apply in that match, right? When you're fighting someone that's equally better or maybe just a little bit better, it keeps you on your toes, so both players are constantly trying to level up on each other. And the reason why that's so important is that because if you're X level player, and you fight someone that's like too good and they're demolishing you, it's really hard for you to understand what's actually happening in the match, because there's so many things that higher level player is implementing in their playstyle that it's hard for you to keep track, and you're just getting demolished, so you're not really learning anything because you're just losing. And then when you lose, what happens when you lose? You get discouraged. So when you're fighting against someone that is equally skilled or just a little bit better, and you might take some games, it feeds your confidence because you're winning games, and also keeps you in reality that this player can still beat you. Go to ranked, go to a casual match. As soon as you find someone that gave you a hard time in both casual or ranked, invite them to a lobby. I don't care if they beat me in ranked. It's not an ego thing. I'm not running the set because I want to beat them. It's because I feel that I could learn from them. If they're able to give me a hard time, that means there has to be something that I'm missing in the matchup or missing in my playstyle that's causing me to lose. So battle lounges, utilize them. Utilize them, utilize them. All right, second tip, use a training lounge. All right, you got to use this training lounge, and it's not just practicing combos. I know it's a very generic tip, but I see so many players just practicing how to spend their super. There's a lot more to training lounge than just looking at, you know, how to execute your combos. Is looking at damage output, how much stun output, what you could have done differently to either close out the round, what move you could have done that, you know, would have been the game ending combo, right? Learning how to optimize your routes and what puts you in good situations or bad situations, you can duplicate those in training lounge. So utilizing training lounge for all those things. Number 3, check the tapes, not just your tapes. I'm talking about if you don't know how to deal with a matchup, you look up the strongest player. For example, this is what I do. I look up Daigo versus character. So if I don't know how to deal with Dalsum, or if I don't know how to deal with Balrog or whatever, blah blah, I look up Daigo versus Balrog, Daigo versus Dalsum. I don't just watch the tapes to admire the way Daigo plays. Okay, I don't do that. All right, I watch the tapes to see how Daigo deals with certain scenarios, what defensive options he chooses in certain situations, or what he chooses most of the time, right? And what spacing he uses and how he punishes things. Even though we don't use the same character, there's still some takeaways that I see in the match that I could still apply to my own game. So I check the tapes, I watch other players play, I watch the strongest player in with that character, or players that I feel that have good offensive strategies or defensive strategies, and I take away different elements about their playstyle and try to incorporate it into mine. Do your favorite player versus that character. I do it all the time, and it helps me out a bunch. All right, so that's my 3rd tip. Check the tapes. This might be more for like maybe intermediate players. I want to say, don't lose the same way. Number 4, don't lose the same way. Being able to take mental notes of your gameplay on how you're winning and how you're losing will help you out a lot. You'll hear me talk to myself too. Like, I don't like that fireball. I don't like that jump in. Why did I fireball there? And I try not to make the same mistake. Because if I'm getting hit with the same stuff, or I'm dying the same way, and I'm losing the same way, that means I'm just kind of going with the flow, and I'm autopiloting my offense, and I'm autopiloting my defense because it worked a couple times. Being able to be aware of your own patterns will help you out a lot too. Because when you're aware of your own patterns, you can kind of see how predictable you are. You know, the biggest thing about progressing is if you're not trying something new and you keep dying the same way, then you're stuck. So don't be afraid to try different things. I know it's discouraging and it's disheartening when you're doing something new and you die from it. If you die for something new, at least you're trying. At least you're trying something else. You know what I'm saying? At least you're not doing the same shit over and over, expecting different results. Duh. Definition of insanity. You're just autopiloting. You are autopiloting. So that is my number 4 tip. My last tip is relying on consistency over gimmicks. I see so many players just want to get away with a win. They go on ranked and they do the craziest shit and they get away with the win and they're happy with it. Right? But when you look at their win rate, they're like 47%, all this shit, because they're relying on that gimmick to help take the game rather than focusing on what makes them consistent. When you focus on things that'll make you consistently a better player, then you'll start seeing more wins that way. If you're relying on that one gimmick or that one, you know, that one sequence to help you take the game or whatever, when you fight players who know how to deal with that, all of a sudden your whole game plan falls apart because you're like, wait a minute, what do I do now? That gimmick didn't work. That one sequence that everyone falls for in rank didn't work. That one diamond player got hit by this, but this ultra diamond or UGM didn't get hit by it. What do I do now? So their whole game plan relies on gimmicks. I get it. Winning feels great, right? When you win, when you beat somebody, especially if they're a high ranking player or they're a notable player and you hit them with that one gimmick, it feels amazing, right? That's it. Can you beat them consistently in a set? No. Maybe you might beat them in the first 2. Cool. Are you going to do better overall in ranked? Are you going to do better overall in your battle lounges? Are you going to become a better player? Probably not, because you're just relying on that one thing to help you take a game rather than really understanding what helps you be better and helps you take those games. So consistency over gimmicks. So that's my top 5 tips for getting better. I've been using it since I started ranking, and that's the reason why I continue playing this game, because I'm always learning and I'm always trying something different. Even if I lose doing something new, at least I know that I'm trying something else and I'm not losing the same way. And I take a hard look at my own gameplay every single time that I play. So that's my 5 tips, and I hope it works out for you. And if you like this video, like and subscribe.